January 30th, 2026, during a downhill race at Crans-Montana, Switzerland, brought a crash that ruptured the ACL in Vonn's left knee. Not the titanium knee, the other one. A helicopter carried her to the hospital 9 days before the Olympics. For almost any other athlete on the planet, a torn ACL that close to competition means going home. Vonn looked at the same situation and reached a different conclusion. February 3rd brought a press conference where she announced her intention to race. Her exact words, "I know what my chances were before the crash, and I know my chances aren't the same, but I know there's still a chance, and as long as there's a chance, I will try." The argument that erupted was loud and personal. Vice President Johan Elias defended her autonomy. This has to be decided by the individual athlete. IOC Sports Director Pierre Decray backed her up. This decision was really hers and her team's to take. Critics called it reckless, and a Belgian television commentator labeled it an accident waiting to happen, and a particularly bad example for young people when it comes to health and safety. Vonn ran the Olympic training runs regardless. February 5th, she clocked in 11th fastest. February 6th, she posted the third fastest time, just 37 hundredths of a second behind teammate Breezy Johnson. She could still race, she could still fight for a medal. The night before the downhill, she posted on Instagram, "I know the odds are stacked against me with my age, no ACL, and a titanium knee, but know that I still believe." February 8th, 2026, the Women's Olympic Downhill at the Tofane Alpine Skiing Center in Cortina d'Ampezzo. Lindsey Vonn launched out of the start gate, skated 5 times, dropped into a tuck, and on the third turn, 13 seconds into the run, her right arm hooked inside a gate. Her body twisted and she cartwheeled into the safety nets. People compared the crash to Hermann Mayer's legendary 1998 Nagano fall, placing it among the most violent wipeouts Olympic alpine skiing has ever produced. A complex tibia fracture in her left leg, a helicopter ride to Ca' Foncello Hospital in Treviso, Italy. And while she lay on the snow being prepared for evacuation in extraordinary pain, the message she sent to the U.S. ski team coaches landed like a gut punch. "Tell Breezy congrats and good job." Johnson held the lead at that moment and went on to take the gold medal. Coach Svindal posted on Instagram the following day, "Tell Breezy congrats and good job. Your teammate was in the lead, and that's the message you wanted the U.S. ski team coaches to remember before you got airlifted to the hospital." Vonn's own Instagram post from her hospital bed on February 9th read, "Yesterday, my Olympic dream did not finish the way I dreamt it would. It wasn't a storybook ending or a fairy tale, it was just life." She continued, "I was simply 5 inches too tight on my line when my right arm hooked inside of the gate. My ACL and past injuries had nothing to do with my crash whatsoever." And then came the line that carried the weight of her entire career. "I have no regrets. Standing in the starting gate yesterday was an incredible feeling that I will never forget." Today is February 13th, 2026, and Lindsey Vonn remains in a hospital bed in Treviso, Italy. 3 surgeries have followed the crash so far, with at least 1 more scheduled. An external fixator, a metal frame, appears in her hospital photos, and she described herself as very much immobile. After the 3rd surgery on February 11th, she wrote, "Success today has a completely different meaning than it did a few days ago." No formal retirement announcement has come. Her father, Alan Kildow, told the Associated Press, "She's 41 years old, and this is the end of her career. There will be no more ski races for Lindsey Vonn as long as I have anything to say about it." Given a torn ACL stacked on top of a complex tibia fracture, combined with her pre-existing declaration that this was her final season, every medical and media assessment points to the same conclusion. Support from the sports world poured in immediately. Michaela Schifrin, holder of the all-time World Cup wins record, told reporters her tenacity and grit, and what she's showing up with this Olympics and staying true to her own values, that's just straight up beautiful. Arnold Schwarzenegger wrote in his newsletter, "It is gutsy, it is brave, it is a little bit crazy, and it brings out all of the losers to do their naysaying. There is no such thing as risk-free greatness." NBC Olympics ran a column headlined, "Lindsey Vonn, pushing to the end, didn't need a storybook ending to inspire." FIS President Johan Elias offered the final word from the governing body. "I can only say thank you for what she has done for our sport, because this race has been the talk of the games." More surgery comes first, months of recovery after that, learning to walk before she can think about skiing if skiing ever happens again. The legacy, though, already sits beyond anyone's reach. 84 World Cup victories, 20 Crystal Globes, 45 downhill wins, more than any skier who has ever lived. 3 Olympic medals earned across 5 Olympic Games that span 24 years. An estimated net worth between $14 and $16 million. A foundation funding scholarships for young girls. Ownership stakes in professional sports teams. A seat on the executive committee for the 2034 Utah Winter Olympics bid. A published memoir, a production company called Après Productions, and a board seat at a venture capital firm called Athena Capital. And then there are the details that don't belong on a resume but tell you who someone actually is. Back in 2005, Vonn won a cow named Olympe as a prize for winning the Val d'Isère downhill, and the organizers expected her to trade the animal for cash. She kept it. Lucy, a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel she adopted from an Italian shelter in 2016, showed up with pneumonia, a heart murmur, and almost no body weight. That dog became her constant companion on the World Cup circuit, carried 2 passports, and helped Vonn manage depression during her darkest rehab periods. Lucy died on March 30th, 2025 from kidney failure. Vonn later adopted a rescue dog named Leo who'd been hit by a car and walks on one shorter back leg. Her explanation for choosing him: "The rescue shelter tried to convince me not to take him because he was so messed up. I was on crutches at the time, so I was like, if you didn't notice, I'm also messed up, so he's perfect." One detail about the Olympic crash matters more than the injury itself. 13 seconds into the run, lying on the snow with a shattered leg and a shattered dream, the first thing Lindsey Vonn did was ask her coaches to congratulate the teammate about to win gold. That is not behavior driven by ego. That comes from someone who loves the sport and the people in it more than any outcome on a scoreboard. And that's why the answer to what's next for Lindsey Vonn isn't really about skiing at all. The answer lives in the full picture of who she is. A woman diagnosed with depression in 2005, who lost her mother to ALS, who absorbed more than a dozen surgeries, who heard Olympic champions suggest she needed a psychologist for wanting to compete, and who stood in a starting gate at 41 years old on a torn ACL and a titanium knee because she loved what she did and refused to let anyone else stamp an expiration date on her. She posted one final thought that night from her hospital bed: "I tried, I dreamt, I jumped. I hope if you take away anything from my journey, it's that you all have the courage to dare greatly." 84 wins, 20 globes, 5 Olympics, 1 titanium knee, 13 seconds, no regret.